Today we are talking about the Viltrox 23mm t1.5. I've been using it now for a couple of months and I'm positively surprised by it. Let's have a look. I asked Viltrox if they could send me over one of their cine lenses, and they asked me which one, and I chose the 23mm t1.5 as it is for the moment the widest option that you have in this cine lens series. And I know that a 23mm t1.5 on a micro four thirds sensor is going to be a pretty good match. It's similar to a 50mm on a full frame camera, but anyway, let's have a look at the Viltrox 23mm t1.5. What I like about this lens is that it has a filmic look to it, so it's not overly sharpened like maybe a photography lens has. It's nice and sharp even at the widest open at t1.5. Obviously, if you just turn it down a little bit more, maybe at 2.2, it's going to be much sharper. But I was positively surprised of the sharpness at wide open t.15. And speaking of the filmic look to it, if you compare it to a photography lens at maybe 1.8, the fall off from the sharpness to slightly out of focus on this lens is very shallow. However, it's nice and smooth, so you don't have that extreme sharpness from focus to slightly out of focus. So it really gives you that nice filmic look that you are looking for. The colors that comes out of the Viltrox lens is also nice and filmic, and it really matches up with the other lenses in this lens series. So the colors and sharpness are very similar from each individual lens, so you can easily mix and match them without having to touch too much or anything in post. There's next to no focus breathing. Again, if you compare it to other cheaper lenses or photography lenses, the focus breathing is going to be noticeable. And in the Viltrox lens, it is basically so little that you can't notice it. So that's a really big bonus in the Viltrox lens. You can get relatively up close to a person or a product at 11.8 inches, about 30 centimeters. So that is also helpful if you need to go quite close to a subject. And the blurry background that you get, the depth of field is nice and clean, and that leads me to bokeh. The bokeh on the Viltrox lens is nice, round, very clean, because there are even more expensive lenses out there that have so-called onion rings in them, so the bokeh is dirty. And what that also means is that the background in general is going to be nice and buttery smooth. The only thing with the bokeh is that it does have a slight chromatic aberration, but it is so subtle that for me it's not an issue at all. The build quality is mostly, if not all, metal. It feels nice and good in your hand, nice and professional. It's about 500 grams or 1.1 pounds, so it is a lightweight cinema lens. Furthermore, they have a weather protection on it, meaning that you can shoot in situations where it might be a bit rainy, drizzling or snowing. So if you put it on, for example, the Panasonic Lumix GH6 is a really good match, as the GH6 is weather sealed. It's got cine style gearing, so if you have to put a follow focus on it, for example, and you swap the lenses out, all of the lenses are matched so that if you change it, the follow focus is going to go to the same gear, the same position in each lens that you use in this series, which is also very helpful to speed up your workflow. It's got a 70mm front diameter and a 62mm filter thread, a 14 blade aperture, and that's the reason why the bokeh is so nice and round and the background is nice and buttery smooth. It's got focus marks on both sides, one side in feet and the other one in meters. That is also kind of interesting and helpful as well. So the 23mm is for the moment the widest you can get in this cine lens. I would like to see a slightly wider lens as well in this cine series, as the 23mm might not be wide enough for you. You can almost compare it to a 50mm on a full frame camera, and there might be some limits with that, exactly with the 23mm on a cropped sensor camera on a micro four thirds sensor. It might not be wide enough, so it would be very interesting to see if Viltrox releases a slightly wider lens than the 23mm. overall, I think it's a really good lens, especially at this price point. I know that I am going to use it a lot this year, and I might get myself the other lenses in this series as well, as mentioned, they are relatively affordable. So thank you for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up. It really makes a difference. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.